Tuesday episode now. I'm still not used to the Tuesday. Got Mike on with me. What's going on, Mike?
What's going on, brother? It's been a while.
Yeah, man. The episode's always better when you guys on. At least that's my thoughts. I tend to like the not just talking into a computer and actually talking to people. But man, it's been a crazy time, and it's been real busy. So we definitely understand that, bro. But we were talking in the pre-show, man, and the news about Harden. Mike hadn't heard about the news. I don't know if y'all heard yet. I got my Rockets hat on, not because I'm repping the Rockets tonight, but representing the news that's coming out is Harden was offered $103 million for a 2-year extension and said no, turned it down. He wants to go to the Nets, which means
he wants to go to the Nets,
Kyrie and KD. So we would have in the East Kyrie and KD and Harden all on the same team.
I mean, you're gonna have to put some sort of super squad together to go up against LeBron, I guess. So,
Yeah.
That's just how the league. That's how the league is these days.
You got Chris Paul, because you mentioned Chris Paul. He's supposed to be going. I think he's actually already moved to the Suns. So you got Chris Paul and Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton over there. So they may be able to do. I don't know. They may be able to be competitive. I don't know if that's a championship team or not, but they could be competitive.
Honestly, I don't think Harden's ever going to win a championship.
You don't think so? You don't think he can get one with Kyrie and KD?
Nope. Well, you know what? I don't. That's now that I think about it, that's an interesting combo. But I don't know how they're going to match up against a team like LeBron has. The problem I have with Harden is he's so hot and cold. Like he goes on these crazy runs, and then like when it's like it seems like, and this is the problem I have with LeBron in the past, is that they go on these crazy runs, but when they get to that moment, either in a series or a game where the tide it's like that crucial moment where the tide can either go in their direction or in the other team's direction. In those crucial moments, it just seems like they can't ever get over that hump. Or I'm not saying LeBron can't ever get over it, but on a percentage basis, he doesn't get over the hump near as much as he should. If you're going to talk about him being the greatest of all time, anyway. But
I thought you meant Harden. I know that's definitely a knock, but I would say for sure, without a doubt, you are correct about Harden. Even though the last game or the last series that we played last year, he actually did step up at the end. But to your point, like defensively, he stepped up. But to your point, he was cold, completely cold in that last game. And all he had was defense. So to your point, I actually agree with you there that's one of his problems is he tends to just fall off. And, like I say, I'm not here because there's Rockets news with this hat. I'm here because like this could mean a rebuild for the Rockets in a way that we probably have been needing to do for a while. But they've been trying to build around Harden and get these pieces for Harden. And then to your point, he gets cold and then we're left like with what? Like, what do we have left over there? So,
right.
I don't know, man.
Well, that's really, and you know what? That's always been my measuring stick when I have these conversations about who the greatest of all time is in the moments that matter the most, when everything is on the line and the balance shifts from one direction to the other, or could shift from one direction to the other, who is the player on the court that can shift the momentum in their favor, in their direction, to take them over the hump, right? That's one of the most crucial aspects of determining who's, quote unquote, the greatest of all time. Who can do that on a consistent basis, like over and over and over again, right?
Yeah,
and that's
the
why
only person we've seen do that is LeBron James. We've never seen anybody else do it.
Oh my God! Don't make me hang
Did
up
I
the
make
phone
you
right
choke
now.
on your food, bro?
Don't make me hang up the phone.
I had to get you.
Let's get to the politics. I'd rather argue about politics right now.
Oh man, that was hilarious.
Going off the reservation.
So it's not like there's nothing else to talk about tonight with the politics, but other breaking news that's happening today. So Trump actually went to Twitter and fired somebody else. So somebody, I didn't even know who he was, but his name is Chris Krebs, and he was the 2020, or he was over election security, I think cybersecurity specifically. And Trump went to Twitter to say the recent statement by Chris Krebs on the security of 2020 election was highly inaccurate in that there were massive improprieties and fraud, including dead people voting, poll watchers not allowed into polling locations, glitches in the voting machines which change votes that changed votes from Trump to Biden, late voting, and many more. Therefore, effective immediately, Chris Krebs has been terminated as director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. So obviously there's some stuff in there that's, let's just say, less than accurate. But the point of it being, and this is why the title of this is geared towards MAGA 2024, and what we'll kind of dig into a little bit more. But the point of it is like his recent moves. So after he was elected, after the election, we posited, what is Trump going to be like? Like, is he going to be like, is he just going to run amok, or is he going to literally like try to, do his job and, try to do his job accurately, or if he's just going to say, forget it, I don't care, y'all didn't vote for me, I'm just going to sit over here and golf and chill. It was unsure, but not just this news that comes off as a negative tone. There are other news that we're going to touch on as well that seems to lead me to believe there's some MAGA 2024 coming, and that's what he's setting up right here. But I found it interesting, and that he did this, and now it seems like he's just been pretty brazen and open about his moves right now, and just like, man, forget it, like whatever. I got 60 days or something like that left. I'm just gonna do what I want to do. I forgot I didn't even turn on all my lights here, Mike. I don't even have my whole setup going on here. But anyway, so we I don't know. I find it interesting that he targeted Chris like that. So Chris Krebs actually came out and he said this has been the most secure election in American history, and that's what he's saying. Chris said was incorrect. I think Chris was coming from, I didn't look into his statement to see specifically all the areas, but I think Chris was coming from the area of cybersecurity specifically, because he was over cybersecurity and infrastructure security. And I think that's what he was referring to. And on that front, the things that Trump mentioned, true or not, likely may not have come across the cybersecurity aspect. But anyway, what's your thoughts on it, Mike? First off, on the firing of Chris Krebs.
Honestly, I'm looking into his background right now, and there's not a whole lot here that he's university. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, as far as his statements go about this being the most secure election ever, I think that's laughable. I think there's been plenty This is outside of the Trump presidency. I think there's been plenty of evidence to show that that elections here in the U.S. are anything but the most secure elections. Everything from the voting machines that are used, to the evidence that there are people that have voted that were either deceased or not living where they were registered to vote. On a percentage basis, I don't know exactly. I mean, I don't know how significant of of a deal it is when it comes to the extent of voter fraud in the U.S. elections. But I will say this, that I think that there's enough there to do a legit investigation into these voting machines and the software that's used, especially with this information that's come out about the CIA or the NSA's software that they created, that they've used overseas when it comes to rigging elections. That there's at least enough there to do a legit investigation as to whether or not there's significant voter fraud to steal this election from Donald Trump. The problem is that nobody really likes Donald Trump as president, right? I mean, everybody seems to forget that the Republican Party didn't even want Donald Trump as president. And I can almost guarantee you that the Republicans today, for the last 4 years, didn't really want Trump as president, but they weren't going to go against their own party, right? It's political suicide to come out against the president that represents your party. So everybody wanted Donald Trump out. And it just wouldn't surprise, if I'm going to be objective, it wouldn't surprise me at all, given all the information that we've had about possible election rigging, the people on both sides of the political aisle who hold significant political power, both in federal and state legislatures, that the election system here could very easily be fraudulent on the kind of level that they could steal the election from Donald Trump if they really wanted to. Now, I don't think that anybody's really ever going to be able to prove that. Like all these lawsuits that Donald Trump's filing, I just don't think that he's going to be able to. I don't think he's going to be able to prove it. And even if he did, honestly, I don't think the Supreme Court is going to rule in that favor anyway. Because if they did rule that there was enough election fraud that it swayed the election against Trump, and Trump did remain in office for another 4 years, I mean, this country would just lose its shit. So, yeah. Just from the standpoint of holding the country together, I just don't see the Supreme Court ruling in favor of Donald Trump. Now, whether or not Donald Trump uses this perceived fight against what he's saying is a fraudulent election and having the election stolen from him, whether he uses that as a platform to run in 2020 to kind of brand himself for his second run. I honestly, after 4 years, I think when Trump leaves, when Trump leaves the presidency, if he does end up actually leaving the presidency, I think he's gonna have so many problems financially when it comes to his business, and the banking interests, and I think that the system that had turned against him when he was president, I think will continue to turn against him over the next 4 years while he's not president. That they won't allow him the financial latitude to run again in 2024. So I just don't I think they'll hammer him. I think they'll hammer him behind the scenes so hard over the next 4 years that it just won't be feasible for him to run again in 2024. It's just 4 years is such a long time. Now that being said, I do think that Biden will screw things up so royally over the next 4 years that the Republicans will have a legit shot at 2024. So, you know, I definitely think the Republicans are going to have a shot at the presidency after these next 4 years, because Biden's fighting a battle that A, he can't ever win, and B, you know, he's not really going to fight for anything that the American people are looking for him to fight for. I mean, he's a swamp creature through and through. He's been a swamp creature his entire political career, and you know, he's got a number two who's just as much of a swamp creature. So, you know, and he's gonna put a whole bunch of swamp creatures in his cabinet. So, you know, nothing's gonna change. It's actually gonna go back to the standard operating procedure with Biden. So, you know, American people, after 4 years of another, you know, standard operating swamp creature presidency, you're going to be just as tired in 2024 as they were when Trump left. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. So, I mean, we still had the last 4 years of swamp creatures. Like Trump was one of the creatures from the outside that came inside and then brought Wall Street and all these other guys. So to me, it's going to be 4 more years of the exact same that we've had for the last 45 presidents.
Yeah, but I think the difference between Trump is that he didn't know any better. Trump was a swamp creature within the financial, you know, or the business system. He wasn't a swamp creature within the political system. It's an important distinction.
I mean,
to make,
he was,
because when Trump,
he was funding is what I meant. Like, he was funding these people. He knew the ins and outs of the system because he was funding them and helping them get elected. And he was a source for them for the big dollar donations. And he was doing that for decades. So he was in on that aspect. I'm pretty sure he had a rude awakening when he was in to actually see how it was rolling.
He was in, but like Newt Gingrich said on that, you know, in that Freudian slip interview, he wasn't part of the secret societies. He wasn't part of the initiation rites, right? So he wasn't deep in the swamp, right?
Yeah, there's another level. Yeah. There's definitely another level. I agree with you there. So I think, like, to your point, he is definitely going to have some financial troubles. And this is what I've been saying, or we've been saying for a while, that this grift has, you know, they've gotten everything they can out of this grift. And currently right now, I believe he's keeping up this election fraud story because he needs it, because he can't campaign and gain funds for anything else, right? Like, he can't campaign for office. So how does he get people to donate? Well, hey, donate to my election fund and I'm gonna match it 1,000%. And it's come out now that he can actually take any donations under 8,000 and put them in his own pocket legally. That's just the way the system is working or set up. Anything over 8,000 can be split up among anybody. It could go to Georgia. It doesn't matter to that run. So I think part of this is just the grift and trying to keep the system going that he has right now because of those financial troubles. Biden, sidebar there, Biden came out and said he's not interested in marring his presidency with going after Trump's legal issues. That may change. I don't know. But we'll see. You know, Trump said the same thing about Hillary, even though he kept rhetoric up. He said after he got elected, he wasn't interested in it. And he never did pursue Hillary in that sense. So maybe Biden will follow in those footsteps, but we'll see.
I think Biden's going to have way too many things to worry about than
absolutely
Donald Trump's issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, even like the Southern District of New York, like, they already have stuff going. So like, if Biden came out and was like, "Yeah, we need those tax returns right now," it's like, yeah, you just being spiteful right now. I don't put it past any politician, but you know, either way. So I think a lot of this with the election stuff is definitely along the lines of the grift. But there absolutely, like unequivocally, have been issues with within Georgia that we've seen that they found 2,600 in one county, 27 or 2,800 in another county. Some, or maybe it was 24 and 27, something like that, that weren't counted. And the reason why, and I only heard about one of them tonight, the one I heard about from the other day, that one actually happened because they said that the election official for the county, whatever position title that is, didn't upload one file. And it basically was, it split up between like 800 votes being for Trump and I think it was 1,400 or so, whatever it was for Biden, 14 or 1,600 or 1,000, excuse me. Or how many did I say? No, 100. And so that is an issue, right? Like that's a problem. There should never be a case where there are legit votes that didn't get uploaded and it's a human error in that way. And apparently the Secretary of State's, one of his top folks, that they want to have that guy fired that did that. Well, then today I hear that there's another 27 or whatever hundred that were found in the county that didn't go get uploaded into the system as well. And so it's like, okay, guys, you can't make those mistakes. Those mistakes can't be made. And so following those things, yes, I think there is a case to be made about what was stated in terms of voter fraud. Those issues, it doesn't help the side that's saying there's absolutely no voter fraud. So to say that it is the most secure in history, I want to know the context of what he means by secure, because it could be like if we did it on a percent basis, right? Like it could be that normally it's 40% secure and we're 39% secure this year. Okay, by number, we're more secure in 2020, but is that literally the most secure in the sense that there's absolutely no issues, or does it mean that we're just not as bad as past years? Because there's always these things. There's always people that vote. There's always fraud, but we tend to catch it, which is the difference. I heard in Los Angeles, they were saying that there were some people that voted, or somebody voted for a bunch of homeless people, which is voter fraud. They caught it, right? Like those sort of things generally get caught. They don't generally slip by. The part about actually changing votes is where I think Trump took issue. And I pulled up what they actually stated, and it says there's no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised. All of the states with close results in the 2020 presidential race have paper records of each vote, allowing the ability to go back and count each ballot if necessary. This is an added benefit in security resilience. The process allows for identification and correction of mistakes or errors. All right, so in that case, if you have the backups, like in Georgia, they're already doing a recount, then do the recount, right? If we have the backup, nobody should have a problem with there being, a validation of that count, no matter what. I know people get nervous because they don't want it to flip a state, right? Um, but I would much rather have them go back and do a recount and validate these numbers than just go with it because we don't like Trump, right? Um, but I think it's different for like a lot of these. To your point about Republicans not wanting him, um, I do agree. They definitely. I thought this entire time they appeased him because they needed to for political reasons. But I also don't think that they wanted to lose the presidency in this round because they need that seat, right? They don't want to have to spend 4 years waiting on, trying to work with Democrats to get that stuff through when they can easily persuade Trump to do something to that effect. So, and even some of them may be like, "Now let's just get him out of here," because we've seen a number of Republicans come out against Trump. But I don't think it's widespread enough for Biden to flip states blue. Now, I don't think that's widespread enough across the entire Republican Party to flip Biden blue, or flip states to blue. Um, but he fired the dude. So that's part of his right. He can do it. So it is what it is. But I do hope that they look into these other issues. A lot of this stuff has been already kicked back. Supreme Court or the state courts have already basically dismissed the majority of their lawsuits. I believe they filed a new one, I think today in Minnesota or Michigan. And now Rudy is Rudy's going in to help out with a $20,000 a day payment for Trump legal work. So all those donations are probably going straight to Rudy. But I don't think they're going to end up being able to find enough. So that's why I think it's part of the grift. But now, 2024. So here's my running theory on 2024. I agree with you about the finances. That's going to be difficult. And it is a very difficult job to hold for this amount of time. But I think his answer to his financial issues is 2024. Like he can start campaigning in what, 2023 or late 22, or I think it's 2023, like 15 months or something like that before he can start campaigning and start fundraising. He can also keep the grift up. If he says I'm running in 2024, he can keep this fundraising grift up and they can work. He can behind the scenes or not, or he's not a behind the scenes guy. He can openly campaign for people in 2022 for the Senate and the House, etc.
I mean, honestly, bro, I think people will forget about Trump. I mean,
I don't think he's gonna let him. He's too loud,
dude. Nah. Here's the thing. We are now at a point where states are talking about people having to cancel Thanksgiving because of COVID. So this COVID thing isn't going away. When Biden gets sworn in, there's going to be way too many things that Americans are going to be paying attention to worry or pay attention to Trump. I mean, you may have like the hardcore Trumpers out there that are just never not going to pay attention to what Trump's doing, but that's like very few and far between, bro. I'm telling you right now, when Biden gets sworn in, assuming that nothing comes of this whole election fraud thing, which right. I just don't see that happen. But assuming that happens, when Biden gets sworn in, we've got COVID to deal with. We've got the issue of the vaccine. We've got the numbers spiking because, shockingly, we're going into flu season, right? We've got the numbers spiking. We've got the Fed still coming out and saying that they're going to be pumping trillions of dollars into the market to buy up toxic assets, still keeping interest rates down at 0% until like 2023. And we've got, we're going to have what's essentially a divided Congress and a new stimulus package that they're going to have to pass in the first quarter of Biden's presidency. There's going to be way too much stuff out there. People are not going to pay attention to Trump. Like, he may be doing his thing in the background, but I can guarantee you, like, maybe the news cycle brings him up every once in a while, but, dude, nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care. After a year of Trump not being president, nobody's going to care about Trump anymore. I mean, and like I said, I think there's going to be way too many things going on in the background when it comes to his finances that I think there's no way he's going to be able to run in 2024. And if he does run in 2024, I think it's going to be a big, like, FU to the Republican Party, because I think he'll do it just out of spite to like throw a monkey wrench in the Republican Party's like chances to have somebody to go up against Biden. I mean, I just don't see it. 4 years, he'll be a thing of the past. Nobody's really going to care about him after a year. I mean, we have so many financial issues that are going to be coming up in 2021 in this country that we've been talking about for I don't know however many years that the right. Biden presidency is going to have to deal with. That, like, he's just going to be a thing of the past. He's still relevant today because of all these this election fraud and lawsuits and him not conceding and all that crap. But that's short-term news cycle garbage. You know, once we get in the first, second quarter of next year, like this is gonna be a non-issue. I don't ever want to talk about Trump ever again. Like, you know, I didn't want him as the president when he was running in the Republican primaries. I didn't want him in the presidency when he was president. Granted, I 1,000% didn't want Hillary as president way more than I didn't want Trump as president. So, you know, I guess there's a silver lining there, but you know, it's just let's put Trump behind us and watch the epic freaking disaster that will be the Biden presidency unfold.
Yeah, so I think what led me to the line of thinking, and I do agree that there's going to hit a moment where post inauguration, Trump's relevancy just drops. But I think he has so many people who have just been on the take with him, you know, or on the grift and just like on his coattails, man. And they've made a mint off of this dude. And I think they're going to do whatever they can to prop him up. But I do think there's going to be a drop in relevancy. But I think he's going to try to bring that back. And now what I would, as much as I think he was a terrible president, I would love to see him run in 2024 as a libertarian. Which is just because.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong.
This is the thing. He could make it relevant, right? Think about the amount of people, because it's a fundraising issue, right?
Please stop it.
No, hold on.
You're hurting my brain. Donald Trump is a libertarian. Stop it.
Oh, he's not. I mean, he's not. But he's also not a Republican either. He's going to do what he can to get elected, right? But think about what could happen if the Libertarian Party was able to get the big fundraising dollars that's needed for them to get on the debate stage and become, you know, a national party, like an official, like big time party. I would just love to see people freak out. Like you say, I would like to just see the show just so I can laugh from the outside.
The Libertarian Party would implode from the inside or more than they already have.
More than already. Yeah.
If Trump ran as a libertarian, I mean, don't. The only way Trump stays relevant is by the media bringing him up every once in a while. Because if there's one thing that is for sure 100% true, is that the media loves Donald Trump because he boosts their ratings. So
yeah, they've actually got caught on tape saying it. Yeah,
I know, and I won't argue that, you know, every once in a while they'll probably bring Trump up and keep him relevant somehow, some way over the next, I don't know, however many years, whatever crap he's going to end up dealing with or doing, you know, in the background. But when it's all said and done, like, that relevance isn't really going to mean anything. Like, there's going to be so many other issues and so many other things going on. Like, it's just not, you know.
Yeah, no doubt.
For me, for people like me and you who actually pay attention, it's not going to mean anything.
Right. The main thing that made me really start thinking about it too was whenever he started making these really aggressive, active moves, started firing people, putting other people in place so that he could start this troop drawdown in Afghanistan and Iraq, which I'm here for. Like, if this is the kind of stuff he's gonna. Yeah, if he's going to come through in his last 60 days or whatever and do this kind of stuff, let's get it.
Hell yeah.
I'll put a different red hat on if that, for 60 days, if that's what he wants to do.
Oh man, I was seeing stuff where he was like, they were saying like you could declassify basically everything in his last, like, in his lame dog presidency. I was like, man,
straight up like F it. Like,
yeah, dude, I might even vote for him in 2024 if he did some stuff like that. Show me the aliens, and I'll vote for you in 2024.
Donald Trump of the Green Party is in the debate. That would be hilarious. But no, I mean, I think like that's a legacy thing, right? Like that, I started wondering, like, why would he do that now? Like, he had all this time to do it, and he's talked about it. He ended up sending more troops over there. And it was like he was going for re-election, right? Like, that's the thing. You get elected, then every day after that, you're trying to get reelected, right? And that's the problem with our system. But the fact that he was doing it now, I was just like, he's trying to build legacy, right? Like he's trying to adjust his presidential legacy so that he can, like, for what end would he do it? Basically, is my question, is why would he try to adjust his legacy beyond narcissism? Because I think there's some there, all of them have it, but I think, you know, in that plan, it's like, well, maybe he's trying to gear something and set something up for next year or the next run or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, I thought it was interesting.
I think he's just trying to sow as much doubt in the election being legitimate overall, that, you know, and you know, like I said, bro, that there's a strong percentage of me that believes that that this was stolen from him in a lot of ways. Now, and that's the thing. Like, I don't even like the guy, and I can say that, you know, everything that I pay attention to tells me that the system that has existed in politics in Washington would want him out of that office so bad on both sides, right? That they would figure out a way to manipulate, steal, and do whatever they needed to do, coerce, and do whatever they needed to do in key states to flip this election against in favor of Biden. I have no proof of that, but that's what my gut tells me after paying attention to everything that I've been paying attention to for all these years and following this stuff on a daily basis for all these years, that I wouldn't put it past them in a heartbeat to do something like that just to get him out of office and put another establishment swamp creature like Biden in office. The only reason why I think that it didn't happen in 2016 is because I think they thought that there was no chance in hell that he would win in the first place, and they didn't even need to. Like, I think that they thought it was such a slam dunk for Hillary Clinton that there was no way that the country would vote for somebody like Trump and elect him as the president of the United States. I think there was so much hubris, and they were so high on their high horses in the media, in the political scene. There was just no way that people would vote for Donald Trump, and they were like shocked. So I think there was no way they were going to let it happen twice. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
there's no way they were going to let it happen twice.
I think your logic there, I think is sound in the fact that, yeah, I think they did want him out. I'm not at the point where I'm going to say, yeah, there definitely was fraud, but I think the concerted effort, I think, was very much so brazen and like right in your face, right? Like, there were so many Republicans out against him, prominent Republicans out against him, actively fighting against him, that I think that was problematic. I mean, how else do you explain, you know, a few things. So Trump loses in the popular vote, loses in the electoral college, but then Republicans end up holding and gaining some seats in the houses, in both houses, potentially still securing the Senate, right? So, like, there's definitely some plausibility that, you know, I'm with you. Like, I don't think it happened in a like fraud, like we put this system in place and Dominion is the issue and all this. So I don't believe that until I see more. But I'm with you in that I would not be surprised if it came out that they have proof that, you know, some, you know, bad actors in high positions put forth orders to, you know, adjust whatever they needed to adjust and tweak whatever they needed to tweak. I wouldn't be shocked by it. I don't think it happened, but I wouldn't be shocked because the system is.
And you gotta remember too, John. You gotta remember too. There's a much bigger story going on in the background of this whole presidential race and who's going to be the next president. I mean, you got the IMF out there right now talking about we need a new Bretton Woods like global reset of the global monetary system right now.
Right.
This has always been about people in very, very, very high places that shape the world in a way that they want the world to be shaped from a financial perspective, on all these social levels. Like, there are people around the world right now, people whose names that 99.9% of people just will never know, or just never recognize. There are people out there that are shaping the world in such a way that they're moving the world in a certain direction. And this direction, is based off of what we've talked about before on this podcast is, the dollar eventually has to lose its spot as reserve currency because of the way the system is structured. And so they're reverse planning for that to happen. And so in order to do that, in order to shift the world in a certain direction, you need people in positions of political power, like the president of the United States. You need people in those positions that will go along with whatever it is that your background agenda is if you're going to shift the entire world into a new global monetary system, or a new Bretton Woods, as the IMF managing director likes to say, like they did in 1945, and like they did in 1971 when they took the dollar off the gold standard. In order to shift the whole world onto a new system, you have to have people in very high positions of political power that are all on the same page and kind of think as you think. And Donald Trump just wasn't that person. Like,
yeah, they didn't know what they were going to get.
Joe Biden is for sure that person. So, he's swamp creature through and through. So there's all sorts of background stuff going on here. It has way more to do with the way that the world is shifting right now, from a global perspective than it does, what most people even think this is all about. So, that's why I say there's so much embedded into this issue of potential voter fraud and, stealing the election from Trump, possibly stealing the election from Trump, and, having somebody like Joe Biden be an ex-president. Honestly, I would be shocked if Joe Biden makes it past his first term as president.
Yeah, that's me and Chris were talking about a few episodes ago that, just the stress and strain at 78, bro. Like, that's
100%.
Not even being ageist or whatever the term is. Like, it's just at 78, man, that's a lot of years. That's a lot of miles, bro. I mean, I know he's out riding bikes and jogging and running and stuff. And, I don't hope any downfall for him. But, it's definitely, those latter years, man, I mean, we've all seen that decline happen, and it can go fast. It can happen fast.
I was joking around with one of my buddies. He sent me a video of Kamala Harris doing some speech somewhere, and just the smile. And this is before the actual election night. This is before the results, right? Before anything had been counted. You could just see the elation in her demeanor, in her face. It was almost as if somebody pulled her aside at some point and was like, "This is in the bag. Like, you're gonna be the next president of the United States. We have this locked up." Like, just the look on her face, the smile, the happiness, everything about her was like, I know this is all mine. Like, this is mine. You guys don't even know how much this is mine right now.
Yeah,
like,
they definitely thought. I think they definitely knew they had it in the bag. Like, they've been saying that for a minute, but you just never wanted to count Trump out. But not you. I mean, the collective you. You can't count Trump out of it. But yeah, no, I think they were open about feeling like they had it in the bag. Shoot, the election night, Biden came out and was like, "It's looking good for us." I'm looking at the numbers like, bro, how? Like the numbers just weren't adding up for it to be what they, could comfortably say that is looking good for us. I was like, well, okay, if you say so. But do you mean
Yeah.
that in the sense of like somebody knowing because they had it rigged that way? Is that what you mean, or
I
just in the
mean,
fact that?
I'm not saying that somebody pulled her inside and said, "Hey, we've rigged the election," but I could very easily see somebody pulling her inside and be like, "This is yours." You know what I mean? Like this is,
Yeah.
this is a done deal. This is a done deal.
My cousin, bro, he said he said on Facebook, he said Joe Biden doesn't need security because nobody wants Kamala as president. So he could walk around freely. They're not gonna kill him. I was like, man, they crazy. Folks be cracking me up with these theories.
Here's the thing. I was that same buddy I was talking to him about. Let's game theory it up. What happens if in order for, because like I said, this is all about reshaping the global economy, right? Because let's see what the national debt's at right now. Let's see, national debt clock. Let's see. The national debt's at $27 trillion. The Federal Reserve is going to be printing trillions of dollars next year to buy up toxic assets because they don't have to go to Congress anymore. They can just do it now, right? So they're going to be buying up trillions of dollars of toxic assets again, more like just on the regular. Like that's never gonna stop. Like most people don't know, that's just never gonna stop. They're just gonna support the market, buy up all the toxic assets that are out there, and to the tune of trillions of dollars, and they'll never stop doing it. And to boot, Congress is going to start basically handing out trillions of dollars in stimulus packages, like on the regular. Like it's never going to stop. They're never going to stop doing it. The only thing that may delay them is the fighting going back and forth between Republicans and Democrats as to how big those stimulus packages are going to be. But that's never going to stop.
Yeah, and
so
where it goes.
This country is on a financial path to ruin. Now, we're retards like us. If retards like us can see that from a mile away, then you better believe that people on the level of the World Bank, the IMF, all these countries, central banks around the world, they know that too. So they're getting ready to shift the global economy, right, or the global financial system. Now, who would you want to sell that to the American people? Now, because you have to remember, in order to do that, you have to sell it, right? Because you can't just wake up one morning and try and make that shift without somebody hard selling that to the American people. So if they come out with some sort of central bank digital currency and they need everybody to download some app that they now just inject money into your accounts and everything changes overnight, they're going to need a face for the American people to sell that to. Who do you think they want selling that to the American people? Joe Biden or Kamala Harris? First black female president or old white guy who's barely breathing?
To be honest, I think they would take Joe because I think Joe is more malleable than Kamala. I think Kamala is, because here's the thing: Joe is already
identity politics, bro. Identity politics.
I mean, yeah, that does play a part, but I think Joe is more go along and get along sort of thing. Like he's like what you were saying about his presidency. Like he's going to surround himself by people, and like he's going to basically do their bidding in a sense, right? Like he's going to be the figurehead to do their bidding. I don't see Kamala's really trying to do. I think Kamala would try to put her foot in a position to secure, like if she takes over for this presidency, I think she would be trying to secure the next presidency. Now, could she do it in the next one? Maybe so. And I agree in terms of selling it, but doing it, I don't think she would be the one to do that. But I could be wrong. I definitely could be wrong.
I'm saying she would be the one to do it if Joe didn't make it past his first term.
Right. I got you.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think
so
in the case of another term, like ultimately what it's going to come down to, in my opinion, is there. Matter of fact, you said it perfectly. Boiling the frog, right? Like this idea of these trillions going out is just we're the frogs, and we're just sitting in this boiling water, not recognizing it, just looking at the vegetables come in the pot.
well, and
Just
they've got the
yeah,
perfect they've got the perfect excuse, which is COVID. They're going to blame everything
yes,
on COVID, and they'll blame everything on COVID, and they'll blame Trump's response to COVID to do whatever it is that they want to do over the next 1 to 2 years. I mean, the country is falling apart financially as we speak, and it's been falling apart financially over the last 8 months. And they're already talking about second lockdowns and
yeah. Well,
you
shoot,
know,
they're already locking down. We have multiple states already: Iowa, New York,
oh yeah,
California. Like there's,
right,
I think
yep.
two more
See
that's
those
already.
crazy rules?
Yeah,
Yeah, you saw those
that's
crazy rules that
inevitable.
California and New York came out with?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about last episode about Pelosi saying, being in California and they having no Thanksgiving parties, but then all of a sudden, oh, we have these new Democrats coming into the House. We're going to go ahead and throw this party with all these roundtables there. I was like, man, this is like the most disconnected stuff, but
Oh yeah, you saw Gavin Newsom had to come out and apologize publicly because he went to some party that broke his own rules that he came out
right,
with for everybody else in California. I mean, it's
right. It's
such a
like,
joke.
dude,
Yeah, it's such
yeah,
a
that's
joke.
why I say, like, hey, folks need to be on the PFA team because you can't back these politicians like this, man. They not out here for us, And so, to your point, man, like, there's that system. I believe we've been seeing it. We've been seeing it erode, and I do agree because they're, like you said, they're already working on another stimulus. And then I actually heard somebody talking about another stimulus in the spring. So one in January, and then another one in the spring, like March or April. And just think about them numbers, man. Like it's insane. Like the amount of money that we're just shelling out, and couple that with, like, and I don't know how this goes in terms of the debt. It seemed like it was more of a forgiving thing, but they're talking about just eradicating student debt for federal loans, and it's like if like you're doing all these things, that's going to take away revenue or whatever, potentially. May have to do some things with the debt there, and then you're talking about all these stimulus things as well. It's like, dude, and people are going to accept it because I tell you right now, you can go ahead and take my student loans from me. But people are going to accept it
Well,
because they want this money, right? They want that added benefit, and some cases, the people need it. Couple unemployment, that's going to continue. It's going to get worse. Like all these things are going to continue to happen. They're going to continue to grow. They're going to continue to get worse. Um, and so we just have to pay attention. In my opinion, there's nothing that we can do about it, right? The only thing we can do is vote
well, I mean,
and educate people.
there's there's definitely something we can do about it, but
I mean, like
um,
like to stop them on from an individual perspective, like we can be prepared for it. But I mean, in terms of stopping this system or breaking the system.
yes, there's definitely something we can do about it. It's just not. It's not something that. It's not something that. It's like. It's like being. It's like being addicted. The problem is the country. The country is very much like a drug addict, right?
Yeah.
We know what the cure is, but it's so painful to go to cure. It's so painful to cure yourself that you don't want to. You don't want to do it. You don't want to go through it, right? Like in order to fix what needs to be fixed, we would literally have to decide as a country to declare bankruptcy and restructure the entire way the financial system and money system worked in this country, which would collapse the country, which would subsequently collapse the country, collapse our military, and we would have to essentially restart the world. That's not an easy sell. And most people are going to be like, yeah, I'll pass. I'll just vote another swamp creature into office,
Right.
And see how that works out for me. But, I mean, outside of doing that, because what most people don't understand is the system is so structurally flawed and broken that the only way out is to let it fall apart and to build and to rebuild from scratch. But most people aren't prepared, are both not prepared and not willing to even entertain that option.
Right.
At least
But
not yet.
That's not something we can do, though, is what I'm saying. Like you and I, we can't do that. It'd have to take those people that can actually pull those strings to do that. In that case, they'd have to just sell it to us and we'd have to accept it. Or we have
No,
to get somebody in there
there's
that would just flip the switch and say, I don't care if y'all like it or not, I'm flipping the switch.
there's actually a way to pull it off. I've been contemplating how you would pull that off if you were somebody like me or you. And there's actually a way to do it. It's actually a lot easier than you would think. But
we got to get that plan. Then we got to make that a core episode topic and get that plan so we can start mobilizing.
Yeah, I've been wanting to come out with it for a while, but if I'm right, and the second that I do, I'm gonna have a big old bullseye on me. But
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely possible. It's so much easier than you would think. It's just so much easier to think. You just have to. First. The key is you have to get everybody to agree on where you start. That's the hardest part, is getting everybody to agree on where do we start. It's like every Marine, when you join the Marine Corps, every Marine starts their journey as a Marine in the same exact spot on what's called the yellow footprints. So the day you get picked up and you get bussed out over to Marine recruit depot, every Marine gets off that bus and starts their journey in the same exact spot. And so the key in order to get everybody to agree to endure the type of pain that has to be endured in order to fix this fucked up system that they're currently imposing on us, everybody's got to agree on where the starting point is. That's the key. So, there's a way to do it. And like I said, it's a lot easier than you would think. But, in the meantime, enjoy the show.
Well, man, that's a great way to end it right there, man, because I think there's a lot for us to definitely unpack there. And I think it kind of goes to the point that you made a while back about us having a shared experience. And that experience may be coming up. We may be having that shared experience here soon that will get us to the point to where we all agree that, hey, we got to change the system. But stay tuned. One day we'll get Mike to unveil the fullness of the plan once we can get WITSEC set up. No, you don't want WITSEC because that's the same people. That's the same government that be coming after you. Man, but we're the Political Free Agents. We do this thing Sunday, 2 p.m. and Tuesday at 7 p.m. Catch us on YouTube live. You go to politicalfreeagents.com and click the YouTube link. You can also find us by searching YouTube for Political Free Agents. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find us there at